Hello everyone, this is Cookies, and I believe this is turn 36. And let me go ahead and mute my phone. Alright, so we have a lot more action this turn. It looks like Hinnom, or Helheim, not Hinnom, Helheim has elfed TNC. We see a bunch of attacks, and none going the other way. We also have a messenger from Xibalba. Now it is time. Now it is the time of the zoo. Lanka, here we go. All right. Well, Lanka is dramatically out of position, so it's going to be very, very difficult for Lanka to do anything about the zoo. But I am curious. We'll have to see. We do get a dire portent. So this is Mother Oak getting put up by. I'm not sure which one this is. We'll have to check. I'm not sure which faction. And then we've got Eyes of God by TNC. All right. So first off, we will watch the elfing because it's new and exciting. So we've got a Hangadrot, Death 3, Twice Born, Earth 1, Glamour 2. Elves are so expensive. But it should be able to do all sorts of buffs. So we've got Invulnerability, Soul Vortex. So right there, it should already be mostly immune to PD. Temper Flesh helps a lot. Shroud of Bewilderment. I believe that's the one where it makes enemies around go crazy and hit each other or attack randomly on a failed MR check. We looked it up a few episodes ago. And then we've got Horrible Visage, which is Dread, and that goes off. So this guy can kill a lot of PD now. In addition, does have did not cast Bless on himself. You might want to add Bless to the script. You've got a really good Bless. There we go. So I guess he's on Advancing Cast. Alright. So that Blessing might have been outside of the script. Yeah. I would add Bless to that script. If I'm Zan or Toldi. I think Toldi's might be doing this turn. It is a very good script, though, but also a very good Bless. I think the one I'd probably swap out is Shroud of Bewilderment if I had to pick. But, I mean, everything in there is pretty good. Then we've got Toledo. This is a bunch of Hell Hurtings, so this Jarl is probably just going to do a bunch of Blessings and Advancing Cast. Now, he got off 3, but I think he missed the front corner. Yeah, AoE spells and Dominions are so inaccurate. I think he got everyone else, though. Yeah, so we've only got the 2 unblessed ones. If it's a lot of PD, it's not, so he'll be fine, but if you run into serious resistance, it's a great way to lose a couple. And I think for Holy Ones, I like to do 6 or 7 Sacreds. Now, theoretically, you should be able to do, what, like 15 squares? You know, depending on how it targets the blessing, maybe a little bit less, because you should be able to get off 3 blessings. And 15 squares for most Sacreds would probably be 30 to 45 Sacreds. But in practice, what I've found is you frequently end up with stuff not blessed, even if it's 2 per tile. So for instance, in my Asphodel game right now, I have a hard time trusting a Holy One to bless anything more than 7 Sacreds, which is kind of sad. They should be able to take parties that are a lot bigger. If I want to do bigger groups, I have to run Dryads because they are Holy 2. And then I think I frequently try to limit the parties to maybe around 10 to 12, just to make sure I get coverage. It kind of depends on how valuable your Sacreds are and how well they do if they don't get blessed. Elves do pretty well, but they're also really expensive. So I think you should care about blessing them. All right. So we've got another Hang a Drought. This one's Death 3, Glamour 3. I think that's a 10% random to get 7 paths. So this guy's pretty valuable. I would try to twice spawn him, because with a Glamour booster or a Death booster, he can put up battlefield-wide enchantments. So I think he is pretty valuable. Let's see if we've left Blessing out of the script again. Okay, so we're relying on the casting AI to bless. Instead it does Ephemeral Blast, which, I mean, does win, and then he does Blessing. Alright. Doesn't matter when you're fighting just a little bit of PD, but as soon as the counter rating parties come out, I have a feeling it could matter. Alright, we've got a Hellcarl. Now this is Holy 1, but just leading a bunch of Herdmen. They are not sacred. Unequaled obesity, so up at 21 hit points. Very chonky elf. Herdmen should be very capable of clearing this up. Now this is Fort PD, so this is a little bit more expendable group. So he doesn't want to send Sacreds here necessarily for the initial engagement. And you know it's Fort PD because it is the national PD. Alright. It looks like it was about 15 PD. In Farron Mountains, we've got another Van Jarl. This one's got some, looks like Valkyrie bodyguards, which I like. I think we're going to miss a few of these, because, alright, so we hit a corner. Hopefully we get one here. I'm worried it'll hit here. Okay. And then we need one to hit the right side. Okay, so I think about half of this party didn't get blessed. And you can see my issues with running bigger squads. Yeah. No, doesn't matter again, but it is kind of annoying how the casting AI does target stuff. Alright. Yeah, so you're trying to run 19 elves, and you're thinking, oh, I've got a Holy 2. That's 10 squares per bless. We get 3 blessings, that's 30 squares. Ought to be able to bless 10 squares-ish. In practice, it's more like 13. Should be able to get them all, you would think. But then, the casting AI. Alright. And then we've got Whalewind Waters. So, an underwater raid with an assassin. Now, something I get really concerned about raiding underwater, I'm not sure why it matters, but it's just something I've noticed, is if you raid underwater with low combat speed, you can really run into trouble, because a lot of Tritons will get in there and hit you pretty hard. And so I've seen even pretty geared out thugs die to basic PD. And I feel like improving combat speed, it's just a feeling, but it does feel like boosting the combat speed seems to help, and I'm not entirely sure why. So we've got a Lightning Spear, Unseen Sword, 14 Protection. Now, what kind of PD are we looking at? That is a lot of Amber Clan, but it looks like he Assassin expanded it. That is a lot of Amber Clan. Whew. Very well done. Okay, so those are indies. Alright. And then we've got Yellow Mountains. Let's see if this guy can manage. We've got another Van Jarl. Now he's a little bit more centered. I think he got everyone this time, which is how it should be. So, and we can double check really quick. Yeah, got everyone that time. So, and that's another thing I've noticed in Dominion 6 too, is mages will often, for some reason, they have a high prioritization on themselves, even for AoE spells. So I've seen mages cast AoE 20 spells on themselves rather than, you know, maybe like a group of 20 squares worth of archers. It does seem to be getting slowly better over time, but it could still get better. I would like to see more battles like this one, where the blast coverage is pretty solid, rather than the other one. And it should be pretty possible, I feel like. It's not the easiest algorithm, but even if you just ran, I don't really quick, like maybe like 3 different simulations of valid points and then just took the one with the most valid squares, that would probably be an improvement. And you could probably do that really quickly behind the scenes. And even if you just did that to blessings, I think that would be an improvement. Although it would be nice to see improvements across the board to AoE spells. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there could be like a center square for enemy squads that mages could try to target. I don't know. But whatever it is, it just seems to be off a lot. All right. But what we see here is, I think, 6 for 6, and then the assassin expansion. So Helheim is up 7 provinces this turn. So that'll be huge. In addition, we've got the storming of Lanka. I'm assuming that happens this turn. I see no reason for Xibalba to wait, but he might. Yeah, so let's go ahead and see what happens in Lanka. I just don't see how Lanka does anything about the Ocelotls, or the Scorpions for that matter. There's also going to be a bunch of imps. He's got Stormflight on the Bless, so even if Lanka somehow had Storm, it wouldn't matter. And the Shade Base can run through the walls. So I think the Lanka Bless is screwed. Now, he did get a large number of these Rakshas warriors. So, and they're all going to be blessed. He has a fair number of Palankashas. He's got a Ravana, which is a hero, and he's geared that out. Ring of Regen. Unfortunately, no armor. I mean, it's hard to come up with stuff like that during an emergency. He's got a few Mandragoras to try and help out. This wall garrison is going to fall very quickly. So then it falls on all the sacreds here to see how many, if they can kill the Aussies quickly enough. And then maybe they'll stand a fair shot at killing the rest. Does have some blood slaves. Body ethereal is good. I think that, yeah, that blocks the scorpion tail, which has a nasty death poison. Ooh, there is a fair number of gems here. So Xibalba's brought a bunch of fire gems, so it could be a lot of fire elementals coming out. All right. And then no gems on the Pretender. I wonder if the Pretender just didn't have a lot it could cast, or if he was just out of gems, or if he forgot to put gems. We'll have to see. All right. As a reminder, the MR on these Rakshasa warriors is 13, so when you see the Blood Vengeance checks, you know what they're rolling against. Ooh, some of them running. Why are you running? You have 18 morale. Big banishments. If he can kill enough of the Shade Beasts, he might HP route the Scorpions. There's a lot of imps. He might hold here. Yeah, the Blood Vengeance. It's so nasty. I wonder how many he's gonna have to kill to get the HP route. I guess there's a fair number of bats back here to help HP sink it. It's also a shame so many of the Lankan Sacreds ran away. So close. There goes the hero. Now, what are we looking at here? We've got Fire Shield, helpful, but only 53 HP. It is inanimate. Now, does inanimate block Blood Vengeance? Anyone hiring this? It works against everything? Okay. It'd be nice if it didn't work on inanimate stuff without blood. There go the mirror images. Yep, there goes the Pretender. It was a very good effort. Got a pretty unlucky morale roll. I wonder if the Pretender had had gems, if he would have been able to summon enough crap. Like, just literally anything to be able to try and fend off these scorpions. Alright, he did kill a lot of stuff, but with the Bless offline, he's going to be significantly less scary as well. So that was Lanka. So one mage goes down. That is one of these. Loses 48 Aussies, 12 Sacred Scorpions. Loses all of his own stuff. But does kill at about a 5-to-3 ratio. So, did kill a lot. There was just a lot more. Okay. Oh, and the PD, yeah, was pretty much useless. Just like we knew it would be. Alright. So, following up with the rest of the Xibalba fight, got Summer Edge. We've got the Sino raiding party. This is a lot of wolves, though. They might kill the commander. Yep. the dogs with the cavalry pincer flanking attacks. Now, oh, but those were Berserk. So the raiding party technically succeeds. Yes. Alright. So loses 6, loses the commander. Probably loses a fair amount in the retreat because there's no commander, but does kill the dire wolves. Then we've got Plothai, the other Sino group, which this should go a lot better. Alright. So that was here, loses 2. And then we have another raid into Oeperi. This is a small group of scorpions. Let's see. So he's brought 8 scorpions. But they're also pretty slow moving. So he might be able to get off 4 blessings to try and bless them. Or not. I think there's still a couple of these that might not be blessed. Maybe? Or did he get them all? 1, 2. So that's 2 really big scorpions that could have blood vengeance to kill these Palankasha with. And they're not going to have their blood vengeance. Alright. So if folks take anything from this game, the first is that even very good players can struggle blessing their stuff, because we've seen that from almost all the players in this game. And sometimes they don't bless them intentionally, like we've seen with Stonetroll's groups. But in my opinion, if you take a really big bless, you should try really hard to bless your stuff. That's my not so hot take. Alright. Let's see. So that was Oeperi. Now, I think next up we've got Hinnom and Sauromatia. I'm assuming there's a few Hinnom Lanka moves, but we'll just go through the rest of them, I think. So we've got, yeah, Hinnom versus Sauromatia in Grey Mercs. We've got a small group of Seir. We've got some Maziks. We've got some Archers. And we've got some Avim. Now, Hinnom also pretty nice bless. Not bothering to bless these Seir, so they'll just have 7 protection and be very killy. Wouldn't surprise me if he lost 1 or 2, but we'll have to see. Well, there go at least 2. Yeah, alright. And then, let's see, in Dragon Scale Mountains, we've got a Barbarian attack. That is a lot of vampires. Is that a Barbarian attack on the Indie throne? The Throne of Death? Nice try, Barbarians. Okay. So that throne, I guess, just lost some population, but is otherwise fine. Alright, just making sure we don't skip anything. We've got the long-awaited Mekone offensive on Tianchi. Alright, I've been looking forward to this. And I was starting to worry that it wasn't happening. So I feel like it's really hard to just go back to peace once you've already attacked someone, even if you do wait for the nap cooldown to go. But, I mean, you can, but it means you have to reposition to a new border, and that's also kind of painful. Let's see. So, pings here, just sees PD, I guess. Then we've got Tenver. So, Hinnom retaking land from Lanka, sending in a Melkart. Just 1 PD. I know False God is a Melkart enjoyer, so I'll go ahead and let him see what the scripting is. So just blessing and run in. And then we have an indie attack on Hinnom in King's Tomb Desert. The barbarians really trying to make their mark on this game. Sauromatia counterattacks Hinnom in Giant Spine. Very nice. Divine Blessing. Alright. So, solid group of 40. Trying to regain some initiative. I'm not sure what he can do about the stack on his capital, other than trying to rebuild his forces. Then does Hinnom get his cap back? He sends the smaller raiding party into it. The profit is gone now, which is good. So Hinnom will be able to start recruiting from his capital again. And then Sauromatia raids back onto his fort in Zimiki. So we've got a group of Lancers killing a 1 PD that's there. And then, oh, TNG is storming the last Olmish fort. Ballin's had nothing for a long time. Long ago unsubscribed from this game, so it's kind of funny that he lasted this long. It would be kind of funny if this stuff managed to hold too, and I could see it holding. This isn't much. These are really bad mercs. And then it's HP routed. Oh, good grief. Okay. He still has 2 shamans. You could be summoning stuff in there, Ballin. You could have been hitting in turn. Alright. Let's see. I thought there were 2 Mekone battles. Did I miss Lombaria? Oh, we've got a gnome pinging. Has not thugged out the gnome like Distant Horizon did for me. Much to my disgrace because I couldn't kill it. Alright, cool. So let's hop onto the map. We should have a much more dynamic map this turn. So Xibalba moving to seize the more of the Lankan territory, try to consolidate. Does storm the capital this turn. Lanka does take a pound of flesh doing it. There's not a lot of Ocelotls left, but it's going to be very difficult, I think, for Lanka to retake the capital without his bless. And then he's going to have to somehow get his pretender back. So we'll have to see. Xibalba also being somewhat careful raiding the border with Helheim. Maybe worried about bumping with Helheim. The war is public in the game chat, so Helheim does know, but Helheim I think also has Toldi. So Zan has Toldi playing, I think, a few turns for him, because he's busy and out of town, I think. So may or may not have a ton of time to dedicate towards things like realizing there's an opportunity to vulture. But there's definitely an opportunity to vulture. You have to be careful of bats jumping on your commander, especially during their buff scripts. So you'd want to have bodyguards and then maybe enough to work through Sinos, but I'm not sure if you want to sacrifice so much into Xibalban Scorpions. Especially with the Blood Vengeance Bless. Pretty nasty. We do get the big elfing on TNC. Cuts all the way across the border, so that'll prevent Berytos from vulturing, and it limits the amount of vulturing that Fomoria can do. But Fomoria could potentially definitely go after this Olmish Fort. I don't think these TNC troops have time to waste down here in Old Forest. And I think should probably go take Old Man Mountains. If you want to be really diplomatic about it, you could offer TNC like 3 turns of income for it, but TNC's got bigger issues. I think if you're you may be also thinking about doing some of your own vulturing. So and Fomoria should both look at Old Forest. Should definitely look at some of this, maybe some of this stuff. I wouldn't want to fight Mekone over Sinextro. And I imagine this army wants Sinextro. But, I mean, you're kind of idle, and you would have a big Mekone border. It probably lends itself to future wars. So if you're maybe you come in on TNC's side. I think if I were to try and negotiate that, I would try to negotiate, with, players are going to do what they do, but I try to negotiate it in a way where, on condition of my helping, I wouldn't want TNC signing a separate peace deal with Mekone. And so that would be the condition of my help. I'd want them to stay in the fight and stay active in the fight. Even if they're also fighting Helheim, I wouldn't necessarily want a 1v1 with Mekone. That would probably be pretty difficult for her. The longbows in particular probably don't match up great against hoplites. But, I mean, you do have a huge army that you're paying gold for. And so you could intervene on TNC's side against Mekone to avoid this big border. Or the other thing I think you need to do right now is maybe in exchange for helping Lanka, you could take like all of this. You can make a deal to Lanka and say, hey, I'm going to take these 5 provinces on condition of my helping. Or maybe like these 5. He can have his cap circle. But I do want land for helping you, because I think would trade pretty well into Xibalba's Bless. Yeah, they're going to take a lot of hits from Blood Vengeance, but if anyone can afford to take a lot of hits from Blood Vengeance, it's foreign recruit And I think it would be in interest to knock Xibalba out of the game before you get too many Ocelotls running around. So that I think should get involved in one of these 2 wars, and I think he needs to do it this turn. If he needs to end a nap, then so be it. But he should definitely consider getting involved in one of these 2. I would not sit here and continue to scale at this point. I think the time for action is now. All right. Then we've got Helheim punching across here. Really good to see a proper elfing. Definitely got a lot of connected territory. So he traced income through all of this, which is really nice. He put this fort under siege, also nice. Got recruitment for there. Now, TNC might raid back some of this, but TNC is also got to deal with Mekone. Is Mekone going to be upset about this elfing? I'm not sure. But at this point, it's taken so long that the elves have gotten involved. So probably time to get a move on. I don't think Helheim's gonna be interested in sieging large forts. They could make a case for the capital. It's only wall integrity 400. But I think Mekone's gonna want at least 2 forts. Yeah, he's got two armies to try and bully for it. Some of this stuff, probably from Glanis, is going to get redirected up here. I think if Helheim moves to siege a fort, it's probably going to be Barren Crags. Alright, who else are we talking about? Alright, we've got the Hinnom War. So Hinnom's retaken his capital. We see a whole bunch of long dead in here. And the Mazics. So he's taking full advantage of his national summons and Sayer. So he was definitely building an army in here to defend with. But now he's got 2 Mel carts, one for going here, one for going here. I doubt he has a lot of scouting. I think it's pretty difficult to get decent scouting on Hinnom unless he's found a scout province. But I haven't seen a province popping up scouts on defense every turn yet. So he might have to worry about bumping this, but I think all of this is getting redirected at Xibalba. I don't think any of this is getting defended. But you never know. He could easily raid this somewhat safely, unless Berytos moves to Vulture. But we do see Hinnom growing, and he's got a mill cart for each front. Which to me, I think that means the stuff here is probably going to clear out these barbarians and maybe start heading north to put down Sauromatia. And speaking of putting down Sauromatia has decent scales. Did lose Zimiki, but it does have 1, 2, 3 more forts. Is still producing at least spirit guides. It's not Inari, but I think he's trying to maximize troop recruitment rather than mage recruitment. Might have the wrong research, and so just needs to get troops to try and do what he needs to do. I'm just not sure if the troops are going to be able to kill the Mel carts that he keeps running into. So far, they prove they haven't been able to. So I'm not sure what his plan is. I haven't seen any evidence of construction research or, maybe like thaumaturgy to try and soul slice stuff, or I forget what has like blood poisoning is. I think it's alt. I can look it up. But that might also be a 5 in research. Let me see. Yeah, that's alt 5, so that could be kind of hard to get to. Breath of the Dragon might also be good. Just trying to think of different things that could potentially try and wear down and kill these giants. It's tough, though. Hinnom is definitely a very hard match for Sauromatia pretty early. Ideally might have GSS thugs online, but we haven't seen any GSS thugs, or maybe some sort of thug. So there have been opportunities to try and run down unblessed sacreds, unblessed parties of Rephites, unblessed parties of Sayer, and you can score a lot of easy attritional victories in those kinds of raids. And he still has 3 unsieged forts, so there is potential. I'm hoping he's recruiting warrior sorceresses, and maybe the spirit guides are just left over from earlier in the game. But we've got this group with a prophet with about 40. This is about 30 units, but mainly spirit guides, so not a lot of troops. This is about 20 units. You might have gotten a lot of stuff inside the fort, which could be good. What is this? Is that Hinnom's getting blue caps to break into Earth? No, Hinnom's got Earth. I guess just for more mages? I'm not sure. It's Earth Glamour, so it might help a little bit with breaking into Glamour. You can at least start doing some site searching. He's also got these Jade Sorceresses. this province has been hunted down, so everything's moved over to Fomoria to continue hunting. The ever-growing pile of Berytos stuff. Sheds are now second in the list in this province, and it's 170 units. So he should have the core of an army ready to go. And then this Marverni army is still staying pat. Would be really nice to see it do stuff. This would be a great time to try and claim a few provinces, even if you get pieced out by a player. You know, try and vulture a bit. I mean, this stuff was originally yours. You should go and get it. Potentially grab this throne. Throne of the Moon would be really nice on Marverni. I mean, you've got Death 3. That would be, yeah, that would be super nice. So, not sure what's up there. Mekone seems to be finally about to go in. So he's pinged it. It's not found PD dumps. So maybe that's when the nap ended and he went to go ping it to see what kind of defense was mustered. But I think TNG is using these two provinces to see what Mekone puts out there. So a magic phase attack or very small raiding parties might be up next from Mekone. To test the waters or hide what he's putting out there, but then TNG can always send a small force to ping. I think you go ahead and just send in the armies. High Temple of the Magi. What a good site. What a good mage. And the High Mages? What does he get? Astral 2, Fire 2. Also really nice. You don't even have to make the like a Starshine Skullcap to get this guy to start making coins of meteoritic iron. You only need the earth boots. Yeah, that's pretty nice. But if you do give him the hat, he can magic phase into a battle, and he can Phoenix Pyre himself. Can also Iron Skin, Temper Flesh, potentially power the spheres, drop rocks. All sorts of nasty stuff. And yeah, this is really cool. I hope he's he might be moving this guy here to build a fort here. I would definitely build a fort here. That's 6 gems, 7 gem province. May only have 5,600 people, but it's kind of like a capital. At least in terms of gem income. Alright, are we missing anyone? I think we've talked about most people. I think with the Bless offline, I'm not sure. Do you go ahead and roll into this and potentially fight all this stuff with this army piecemeal, or do you wait for this? Is this like the part that's splitting off to go kill the Melkart out of spite? I could totally see him trying to kill a Melkart out of spite. Oh, are these garnets? What? Oh my gosh. You gotta fort this Distant Horizon. If you can break into blood on her, that's so nice. Even if you just use it for Rings of the Warrior, Flesh Eaters, other stuff like that, but I don't know, like, Garnet Mages are really nice. Having a Blood Eco, being able to maybe casually bring a few Storm Demons to a fight, I don't know, all of that seems great to me. You got some nice blood hunting nearby. Maybe could start with this fort a little bit. Could hunt here, could hunt here. Got several decent spots to hunt. So yeah, would love to see some garnets come out. I might have noticed that in expansion and then forgotten about it. Got a bunch of longbows. Ooh. Yeah, I'd vulture that if I was her. Oh boy. Yeah. I mean, it would look like Lanka's on their way out. I'd just go take it. I wouldn't want Xibalba in that cave, that's for sure. I think it's totally worth it as Ur to like maybe knock. I mean, he's too far away now, but to like get involved in this war and maybe help put down Xibalba and maybe get some loot out of Lanka, I think it would be totally worth it. I mean, this was a lot of attrition on both sides, and there's more to come. 48 Aussies. 13 beast bats. 52 of the sun guides. Yeah. That would be super worth it. I think that would be preferable over fighting Mekone if I was her. I'd try to knock out this stuff. If I have to, I'll go into the cave, try to kill the bats down there. And then with all these Hell Blessers gone down here, maybe I can go after Mekone. And then you just have to worry about Helheim. But maybe other nations would be willing to help you. Like, maybe you don't have to fight Mekone. Maybe Mekone will want to fight Helheim for taking half of TNG. Never know. All I know is Berytos gets to sit here and continue to scale up greedily. So, we've had about 50 minutes of me complaining about people blessing and wondering what people could do and wanting people to be more active. Partially this is I like to think that I'm a fairly active player, but I know I've been prone to sitting around before too. But let's go ahead and see the graphs. So for provinces, we see a big uptick for Helheim from the Elfing. Another downtick from Lanka this turn. Big downtick from TNG. Xibalba up a little bit. Hinnom's even. I think that's because Sauromatia is up a little bit to offset what Hinnom took from Lanka. So we've got Helheim, and Berytos, followed by Lanka and Hinnom. So Berytos still near the top of the pack, just from expansion. In terms of forts, we get another fort out of Berytos. That was after another recent fort as well. So what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 forts. Plus his cap. He's got at least 3 forts over anyone else. And then we've got Fomoria, TNG, and Xibalba tied. Fomoria recently finishing a fort, I think, on that throne. Xibalba taking Lanka. In terms of income, we've got and Berytos still way out in front. We've got Helheim taking a big jump up, taking TNG's nice scales land. So TNG falling way down here. And otherwise, people fairly even. Hinnom gets a fairly gets a little bit of a bump, but I think he should get a significant bump next turn because he should be able to get his capital income next turn. For gem income, we've got Marverni, Helheim, Mekone, and Xibalba. For blood income, we've got Berytos. Lanka's blood eco has been trashed. Xibalba's sacrificed his for the zoo assault that we've all enjoyed seeing. And Hinnom has sacrificed his in an effort to rapidly retake ground. So the only one blood hunting is Berytos, who just relocated to a new healthy province. So we're about to get even more shed. Alright. And he might be getting close to Melkarts now. So, and once he starts being able to summon Melkarts, he might be able to roll out more Melkart production eventually than Hinnom. And that should be pretty scary. Now for research, Berytos continuing to lead the pack by a margin, followed by TNG, Marverni, Helheim, and Fomoria. So the nations that have mostly been at peace, but I anticipate TNG is dropping off now. He should be mobilizing for war, but we'll see if he stays in his forts to try and defend from there. And then for Dominion, we've got Hinnom, Marverni, Helheim, TNG, and Berytos. For army size, a lot of people's favorite graph, Berytos still way out in front, followed by Xibalba taking a huge hit from his successful capture of Lanka. Lanka taking a big hit. TNG taking some hit. Mekone up a bit from recruitment. And Sauromatia continuing to recover from the big two-turn slide from the fall of Zimiki. Trying to recover his numbers before Hinnom cracks Sauromatia and tries to storm his capital. And for ascension points, we've got Sauromatia, Hinnom, and TNG. We can take a look at the thrones. So Throne of Death is still the only independent throne. Otherwise, we've got a pretty solid spread here. And then the globals that I almost always forget to look at. Mother Oak was put up by Marverni. So I'm hopeful, so hopeful that we'll start seeing the Bora train coming. I'm hoping he has gifts from heaven and he's got the Bora train. And maybe he can start putting together big parties of boars. And I would love to see him roll into the Sauromatia and Hinnom region and just make a mess of things there and maybe retake some of his old provinces and maybe just kill a bunch of stuff. He can definitely, with gifts from heaven or even soul slay and some other stuff, he can definitely kill Rephites and Melkarts. He's got the boars for the raiding game and for the main army, hopefully. Although I haven't seen boars. So maybe he's been saving the nature for the Mother Oak cast. Yeah, just boar warriors. But now with the Mother Oak up, I'm really hoping we see a bunch of Boar of Carnutes going out. And then I'd like to see that army start moving. I highly doubt he's got a ton of income. Otherwise, he would be fording Sitha, which is his other throne. And it is a decent throne. So I do want to see Boar of Carnutes coming out, and then I want to see this army do something. You know, get value out of while you can out of all these troops. And then if the troops die, maybe you start rolling around with mages and boars from there on out. Maybe, you know, mix in some troops, but maybe they're not the mainstay of your army. And then he's still got stuff down here. I think he probably could have taken this in the meantime with something. But so far he's just left it. I mean, there's Fiends of Darkness and a Shade Lord, so it is somewhat nasty, but there's The lion's coming to deal with the barbarians, but I would like to... I want to see him get moving. It's turn 36. Now, who is Marverni? Because Marverni, if it's ChazzyBurger, he might just be really happy that he's not getting rushed down by someone, because I think he's been rather unfortunate in the last two big games that he really got targeted down. I think he got effectively through 2 or 3v1'd in the Warhammer game. Let me see if I can pull up that game. Yeah, it's Chazzy. So, yeah, understandably, just might enjoy not getting rushed down, but I would like to see... I think there's a real opportunity here to maybe get some concessions, get some much needed income. And if anyone can bully Hinnom maybe in a few turns, I think it might be Marverni. So, yeah, I think that's it for this particular turn. A really exciting turn. We've got so much more combat than we did even a few turns ago. We've got the counter invasion of Sauromatia. We've got the... I hesitate to call it the Great Betrayal, but from Lanka's point of view, it's kind of like the Great Betrayal of Xibalba. We've got the slow initiation of action with Mekone against Tianchi. We've got the very aggressive initiation of action by Helheim, including the vulturing of these two barbarian provinces from Tianchi. So I think the only people not at war is who's already finished their first war. So by every right, they should be able to stay at peace if they want. Although I think they should think about getting engaged in this one. I would not feel comfortable as having both Mekone and Xibalba as large border neighbors. And then we've got Berytos, who expanded so well, he effectively won a first war already. And no one said anything about it. Except Hinnom, who thought about invading Berytos, and then found combat with Marverni, with Sauromatia, with Lanka, and even lost to Melkart in the arena. So, and then Fomoria. I could see Fomoria maybe getting involved, fighting off, maybe taking some of the stuff from Helheim. And Helheim knows about this province now, so he knows about the Adepts, which are Fire 3. I think Helheim would love to get Fire 3. It's also a lot of gem income. And he gets mundane score graphs. So 5 gems and mundane score graphs. Gets this. That's 150 gold. Glamour gem. Otherwise, not a lot of gold here. But it does see how valuable these two are, even if these are kind of crap. This at least has a lab. Knows this is the Throne of Gaia. Growth +2 on his nation would be huge for his scaling into the late game, because he could start taking advantage of growth. And yeah, so I think that's it for this one. I will go ahead and see you guys in the next one. I've spent almost an hour yapping. I hope I didn't scare anyone off with that, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Have a good one.